Hello, everybody, and welcome to whatever this is. We have a special day today because I have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm so glad to be a part of this collab. I'm Dorian from Dorian'sWorld, and if you don't know me, I am a big Dogman YouTuber and I just love these books, and I'm so excited to be a part of this collab.
And I am so glad that you asked me to join. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've never done anything like this. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to rank S, A, B, C, D. We're going to rank the Dogman books from, whatever opinion we have about them. So, without further ado, let's begin. So what we're going to do is we're just going to say a few things about the book, and then I'll say something, Dorian will say something, and then we'll rank it. And that's all. Very simple. Now, hopefully you guys enjoy. So starting off with Dogman 1. So Dogman 1 is what started it off, and I think it was a great book. And it's completely different from all the other books because it's like 4 different segments of Dogman. And it's what started Dogman out. It's his origin story. So I think Dogman 1 is one of the greatest of the Dogman books.
I totally agree with that because I feel like it really set the blueprint for everything going forward, and it really developed the characters well. And I loved how it had like 4 short story segments. And while some people might say that it is a little bit too basic compared to the other books, I actually think that's its charm, because then you can slowly see how George and Harold are like getting older and becoming better writers as the years progress. So for me, I think I'm going to be putting it in B tier because while I think it's a really, really good book, I don't think that it's as amazing as some of the other ones. So how about you?
I agree with that. I'm also going to put Dogman number 1 in B tier because compared to the other ones, story-wise, it's a little lacking in the story, and it's kind of finding its roots at first. But not a bad book. I'm going to give it a B.
Alright, so this next one, Dogman Unleashed, I have a lot of opinions on this one, and before this used to be like one of my favorite books, and I still really see its quality because it's really creative with its new characters. Like, I really like Flippy. I think that he's really important, and Flippy, as we all know, he became a very important part of Cat Kid Comic Club. And I also really like the fast-paced plot, and while it might not be too deep like some of the other books are, I think that the fast-paced storytelling is really good, and sometimes it's not the most memorable. It's not as memorable as maybe Dogman and Cat Kid or Lord of the Fleas. I still think it's a really, really good Dogman adventure to just, relax, kick back, and, read it. So I'd say it's, again, probably top of B tier over the original Dogman because I don't think it's crazy good, but I think it has quality for being the first full-length Dogman book.
All right. Well, here's my very unpopular opinion about Dogman Unleashed. Now, as far as story goes, yes, it is the first, chapter book in the Dogman series. But for me, it's very forgettable. Like, I don't remember a lot that happened in the book, like, thinking back on it. I mean, I've read all of them. I read them all on the channel and everything, but, like, thinking back, this one I get lost. Like, I remember Flippy and Flat Petey, but I don't remember what happens in the story. When Flippy comes in, it's like he's not really a part of it until the end. At the same time, he doesn't really do anything. So, story-wise, not the greatest. Probably my least favorite of all the Dogman books. So I'm gonna give Unleashed a C.
Oh, that's interesting. And actually, like, kind of modifying my opinion on it, now that you say that, I remember this book, like, so fondly, but I feel like the charm is kind of, like, blinding me, so I only look at it as positive, because when I was reading this book, like, a couple weeks ago, trying to, like, get another opinion for it, I feel like the whole time I was waiting for this climax and when this really, really cool or big part was going to happen, but it never really got all the way up. So I don't feel like the story is really that memorable, like you said, because there isn't really a huge climax in my opinion. It's all just kind of super fast, rapid fire,
Yeah.
So, what do
Yeah.
you think on Dogman: A Tale of Two Kitties? This is an interesting one.
Tale of Two Kitties. I really, really liked this one. Again, as far as like story, I got lost trying to remember what happened. But the thing I do remember is Lil Petey comes in, and that's probably the most important piece that comes out of this book. Is Lil Petey comes in, and it totally changes Petey's character for the rest of the whole series. And I just think that was such an important milestone in Dave Pilkey's choice of storytelling and, moving on with Dogman and all that. For me, this is a solid book. It's between A and B. I think I might change my mind a couple times in this video of where I want to put it. But for now, I'm going to put it in A because I like it.
And yeah, I totally agree with what you just said because I feel like Lil Petey really changed like the whole dynamic of the thing because with Dogman as the main character, there's only like so much you can do, you know? His vocabulary is limited to like ruff ruff and bark bark. But now with Lil Petey slowly like taking over that role as main character or like secondary main character, it completely flipped the whole book on its head. And I think this book is also really strong in the Petey department because I feel like Petey changed from this, 2D villain, it's like pretty see-through in Dogman Unleashed, to this really like deep villain, and he changed for the rest of the book. So I feel like Petey really developed a character because of this book. So I think that Lil Petey was so important and Petey was so important as well. So I think that overall, this book is a really fun read. So I'll put it in A. Moving on to Dogman and Cat Kid. I think that this one is a really, really fun book because, as we all know, there's so much that happened in this one. So there was the Dogman movie. I think we all know how cool this was. And of course, there is a real Dogman movie coming out soon. So this kind of like makes the hype even better. But what do you think on this one?
I love this book. This book was actually fun for me to read. It's been so long since I've read all these books, so I'm trying to remember the plot in each one of them, but I just remember this one being like one of my favorites to record, to read. I actually enjoyed it. The whole story was great. Lil Petey and Petey's interactions were hilarious. Dogman had a point to the whole book. They became superheroes and all that kind of stuff, and it was one of the funniest ones that was written, and it was definitely one of the most memorable ones. It's at the top of my list for sure, so I'm gonna put this right in S for Super Buddies is cool.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you just said because I feel like it was at this point in the series that Dave Pilkey really knew what he wanted to do with the books because I feel like, this is where every single character got really deep and it had a purpose, because in some of the earlier books, they were just kind of there for some of them. Like Dogman, he wasn't too significant in the whole series. But like you said, every single character has a purpose in this one. And overall, I think this is one of the best ones for sure. So S tier for me. Okay, next up is Dogman Lord of the Fleas.
Fleas.
For this one, I feel like there's a lot of mixed opinions around it. But for me, I really like it because it really had its own theme, and it's really different from the other Dogman books because instead of like the classic plot around, Dogman, Lil Petey, and Petey, it involved a new set of characters like Piggy, Bub, and Crunky. And I really liked that look into like Petey's past, and I loved all of the extra scenes, all of the robot fights between Piggy's Robobrontosaurus and Petey's machine was epic. And overall, I feel like this book is another super memorable one. So what are your thoughts on this one?
So this book is probably my favorite of the whole series. First of all, he finally introduces a new villain, and it's the three villains, but the main one was Piggy. And it brings in Petey's past. And it really, really it develops Petey's character so well and gives him just a totally different status than any other character in this book. And as far as characters go, he's the only one that really has a past that we know, that we've seen, which is great. But just bringing in this new villain to butt heads with Petey and the other characters, just top tier for sure. This is, in my opinion, the best one. Most memorable, favorite to read, S tier for sure.
Thinking about this book, it has so many positives, but the only negative that I can really think of is Lil P. Because as lovable and cute as he is, I feel like sometimes, his potty jokes and knock knock jokes do get a little bit repetitive. And while I know that this book is suited for younger audiences, I feel like sometimes it gets kind of annoying when we're in the climax of the book and then Lil Petey starts telling knock knock jokes. So that's the only little problem, but it definitely lessens over the rest of the books as Lil Petey matures and everything. But still, other than that, I think the book is perfect, so definitely another S tier for me. Okay, so what are your thoughts on Dogman Brawl of the Wild?
I was just going to say, I don't remember what book comes next. Brawl of the Wild, I think it was a fun book. The main good thing about this was it was a turn for Dogman. It did something completely different. Dogman was framed by the Fleas. The Fleas return as the villains. Gets framed for stealing money or something like that. I don't remember. But he goes to jail, which is like, okay, plot twist, cool. And then it kind of just weans off, and Lil Petey does his own thing and tries to go convince Petey to help him. And nothing else really happens in the book. And then at the end, the Gyro, Gyro, Euro man comes back, and they use living spray again for like the fourth time in the series. So at this point, I'm kind of done with living spray and like do something different. So for me, it's not terrible, but it is definitely bottom of B rank for me.
Okay, so it looks like you have like a little bit of a mixed opinion of like the mid-era Dogman books. So for me, I feel like this one is okay, but it's not the same level as the other ones because, of course, like you said, there are the strong points, like Dogman going to jail. We have to admit, no one ever expected that. Like, it was probably the biggest plot twist in the whole Dogman series, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like this book really freshens it up and everything. But overall, I feel like it lacks in the plot sometimes. It's not too deep. But like you said, I think that the living spray is kind of like a lazy way to brainstorm a villain. So I feel like it is a little bit overused. So overall, I think I'm going to be putting it in B tier. Like smack in the middle of Unleashed and Dogman 1.
Agree.
So for Whom the Ball Rolls, this is a favorite of mine. But what do you think?
So For Whom the Ball Rolls, I really love this one. This one was a top one for me. And I don't think a lot of people liked this one. I don't know why. It definitely wasn't one of my more popular books that I read, but definitely one of my favorites. First of all, we bring back a villain that was in the first book, Dr. Scummybag. And then we've got Grandpa, Petey's dad, that comes in. So you're furthering Petey's character and seeing, Petey's not so bad compared to his dad, who is and a hilarious character. The Dogman plot was way more interactive with Dogman, I guess I could say. I don't know the best word to use. But he has a problem. He has a problem with chasing balls, and he tries to overcome that problem. And throughout the book, he slowly develops like an anti-problem, but then comes back full circle and saves the day. So overall, every part of this book, every plot that happens with every character was just spot on, interesting, and it worked. It worked for me. I loved all of it. This is going to be an S for me.
Okay, so I think that this one is one of my favorites ever since it came out, and I totally agree with what you said, because this book has so much going on. You've got the Dr. Scum, Grandpa, you've got the Fleas coming back, and of course, fans of my channel know that the amazing Commander Cupcake, he's just a legend. So just for that, this book deserves an S tier. But going on a little bit longer, I just want to say that usually by this late in the series, the authors start running out of ideas, They start making like lazy plots, and then it's just like a pretty boring book. But with Dave Pilkey, there's like no signs of that whatsoever, because there's so many things going on in this book, but he organizes it so well, and he makes everything flow perfectly. So for sure, I would say an S tier for Super Buddies, like you said. This is amazing. Okay, so next up is Dogman Fetch 22. We do have the baby tadpoles, now they're the baby frogs. They are really important in Cat Kid Comic Club. We also get the return of Flippy, and we get the Fair Fairy. And while there are many new, really cool characters, I feel like it kind of lacks in the storytelling department, and it's just not too memorable with everything that happened. So I don't think it's as good as the other ones. But what do you say?
Fetch 22 is my favorite cover.
Oh yeah. Yeah, now
It's
I've
so
never looked at
colorful.
it.
And it's so much fun. I love the way he's posed. And then all the little... When I looked at this book the first time, I was like, what the heck is going on? But anyway, within the plot, I think it was a really fun book. I liked the introduction of all the new characters that eventually go on to be the baby frogs. I loved the Fair Fairy. I thought she was hilarious. I loved... didn't love the living spray again, but they used it on something else that wasn't a euro or a cup. They used it on a tree, and it had a really clever name. I thought that was hilarious. And they bring Flippy back. So I thought all of those elements is what made this one fun and really interesting. I would say it's about mid for me. I would probably put it as an A, but like a low A, like an A minus. Like you almost got the last question wrong, and then you changed your mind at the last second and then wrote the right answer.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great analogy. But for me, I would also put it in kind of like A minus, like you said, because while this book does have its positives, I think that it's simply not as good as Lord of the Fleas or Cat Kid or For Whom the Ball Rolls. So next up is Dogman Grime and Punishment. So what are your thoughts on this one?
Grime and Punishment was really fun. I loved Grime and Punishment. Not as much as, Dogman, Cat Kid, and the other S tier ones, because the originality kind of took a dip, but it was still a fun read, and it was exciting, and Dogman gets fired. I'm glad that Grandpa finally digs into his like evil villain roots, and he becomes like the main villain now, and Petey's starting to make his turn and faces that past that he had with his dad. And that's what really did it for me as an adult. But if I'm trying to think of it as like a kid, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of chaos happening. So it's not S tier, but it's definitely A tier for me. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, so Grime and Punishment, I feel like this one isn't one of the most popular Dogman books in general, but for me, I really enjoyed it because this is where like the series slowly started becoming way more deep. Because when you look back at Dogman, like the original one, it was filled with potty jokes and it had like simple humor and the story wasn't really that deep, but then when we get to Grime and Punishment, it's a whole different story. So I really enjoyed the motor brain. I really enjoyed Dogman getting fired, and man, Crud was just so cool, and then seeing Snug and everything, I really enjoyed this one. So I feel like it was super, super creative. I know that you said that it kind of lacked originality, but I think that it's still really, really cool to see all of the characters that we've known for so long, like Big Jim, changing into this completely different form of himself. So I really enjoyed this one. I know that it kind of gave Big Jim special treatment, so that's secretly why I'm giving it A tier, but still, I'm not going to be ashamed, top of A tier, at least because of Snug. So Dogman Muttering Heights. Right now, this is the final book of the series, but I feel like we all know that there is room for another one. So what do you think on this one?
All right, Mothering Heights. Now, I did a review. I think it was the only Dogman book that I did a review on. And at that time, I was like, oh, this is a great book. My opinions have changed a little bit since then. Because looking back, I'm like, the only good thing about Dogman Mothering Heights is Petey's past. Dave really dives real deep explaining Petey's past and getting to the root of all of his problems and getting really sentimental with him. But that's it. That's all that happens in the book. You can take all the other characters out of this book, including Dogman, and nothing would have changed anything in this book. You could have just made a book about Petey, and it would have been fine. I feel like at this point, he's focused so much on Petey that Dogman has been like just pushed to the wayside. And my favorite thing happens in this book is the living spray comes back again, and they use it on cups, like a bunch of sippy cups, and that becomes the villain. I'm like, come on, man. Like, do something else. Make another villain like Piggy or something. The whole book, like, Dogman doesn't do anything. He's trying to make Chief fall in love, or make the nurse fall in love with Chief. And, like, that's all he does until the end. And then nothing happens. So, for me, this is a C. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was fun. But it's just not the best in the series, for sure. Like, it just lost me there.
Okay, so I see that we all have like a lot of different and varying opinions, and for me, I do see all of your points. I feel like this book doesn't really have anything too big going on other than like Petey and maybe the sippy cups. But yeah, I really do feel like Petey has gotten like a ton of attention because while he is like my favorite character other than Big Jim, of course, while I do love him so much, I feel like he gets way too much attention compared to some of the other characters. Like Dogman, like by the 10th book, Dogman really isn't too much of like a developed character. Like, you know, I get why because he can't talk and everything, but I feel like there's a lot of other characters that could use the extra storyline. But no, I feel like Petey is just getting every single thing. Like he got his dad introduced, his mom was there, and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like they can just change the title to Petey Muttering Heights at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't think that this is like a big problem because, you know, I do like the attention on Petey, but overall, like you said, it's not the same level as the other Dogman books. So I think I'm going to be putting it at the top of B tier, and then Unleashed, I'm going to be moving it to the bottom of A tier. And yeah, I'm also really glad that Dave Pilkey is taking some extra time because I think that Dave Pilkey is really going to make this one the ultimate Dogman book and, you know, bring us back to the glory days of Dogman and Cat Kid and Dogman Lord of the Fleas because I feel like there could be like a huge significant villain coming soon. So yeah, to wrap it up, anything you want to say?
Oh boy, anything I want to say about the Dogman series. Number one, I would love to see Piggy come back, and I feel like a lot of people do. A lot of people want to see that. Number two, something I would like to see, and I hope that he kind of brings back Dogman as the main character a little bit. And something he could do is bring back that cloning machine. And we've talked about this before this recording. If he brought back the cloning machine and cloned Dogman to make like a tiny little PD for Dogman, but it's not Dogman, it's what's his name? Officer Knight, yeah. Like Officer Knight comes back because he's pretty much dead. I mean, his head was chopped off and the dog's was put on his body. But bringing back Officer Knight so that you can have like an origin story for Dogman in a way. I think that would be pretty cool. But I mean, it's Dave's book. He can do whatever he wants, and I'm sure whatever he comes up with, it's going to be great either way. You know, I think that would be a kind of a pretty cool plot, and I would kind of like to see that, just to, you know, bring Dogman back into the spotlight.
Yeah, I think that would be like absolutely amazing to see. And I just want to say for the viewers that might be wondering why we put some of these books in B tier or C tier, and none of these books are bad at all. I think that they're all really great books because, you know, at the end of the day, which book made by Dave Pilkey is bad? But I just want to say that I think that some of the other books are way better, and we know that Dave Pilkey really has that maximum level that he can reach. So that's why we only put some books lower and some books higher.
True. Agreed. Well, I think that'll do. I think that's it. We did all the books and we ranked them.
Yep, I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, mine looks pretty solid. It's not going to fall over. So, Dorian, thank you for coming on and doing this and ranking books with me. I had a lot of fun. I hope you had fun too.
I definitely did. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, not a problem. And everyone at home, you want to check out Dorian's channel, I'll have a link in the description. Go check him out. He's a cool dude. He talks about Dogman a lot. And I know you guys like Dogman. Click the link, go check out his channel, subscribe, leave him a like, leave him a comment, give him a high five in the air through the internet. Whatever. But yeah, go support him. And we have another video that's going to be on his channel. We're going to be ranking some other things, but you got to go over there and check it out. So thanks for watching. I'm glad Dorian came on, and we'll see you on his channel.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and thank you for having me on again. You are really such an awesome YouTuber. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Big Jim for the win. Sorry, I gotta leave my mark on your channel. Big Jim for the win. I have to plug Big Jim in every collab I'm in. I'm sorry.
Big Jim. Hey, it's Commander Cupcake.